What's up YouTube? I'm Charmaine Jamil and welcome back to another video. This week's video is all about providing tips to you on how to move on from family drama. And this particular topic can really go the full spectrum because sometimes you have like those small quarrels of family drama, then you have some of those big blowouts of family drama. And so really, I'm not trying to make a decision for you on what you need to do to share this particular topic with you, listening to Sarah Jakes Roberts. And one of the things that she simply said was, when you give yourself permission to take up space in a certain area and someone else is able to see you thriving in that area, it gives them permission to take up space in a certain area that they feel passionate or are really wanting to grow in. And that really is the goal of this particular video. I really want to just give you some tips and tools that maybe you've had a hard time with juggling or weighing heavy on your spirit or on your mind, stressing you out just about certain family dynamics and how those particular instances made you feel. Now, I am going to share my personal experience, but please know this is not me saying I had a bad mother, because you all know how that goes. I really want to move past the phone call of my mom calling me and saying, I heard you were on YouTube saying you had a bad childhood. That is not what I'm saying, mama, okay? So that little part is just for my mom. That's not what I'm saying. However, I do want to make sure that I am sharing on my YouTube channel and giving people encouragement if that is something they're thinking about, really taking charge of making those boundaries in their life. I really want to give you the boost and the courage to do that. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So, the 3 tips that I really want to share for you today about how to move on from family drama is, the first tip, really learn to settle within yourself. Tip number 2, train your family to treat you as the version that you see yourself, not the version that they see you as. And tip number 3, the family that grows from you is what's most important. So make sure you're placing your focus there. So, I always share a personal experience, and my personal experience is that I am the youngest of 3 kids. And normally how I felt growing up is that if something happened or if it was an argument, I felt that I got the short end of the stick, where it was, Charmaine will get over it. We can kind of treat Charmaine any kind of way, and it's okay, because that's just how family dynamics go. You always treat the youngest some type of superiority over them. And that may be okay when you are a child and you really don't have control over a situation, and maybe an adult may be looking at the situation of, oh, that's just kids playing. However, sometimes when you don't take control of those situations, especially as a parent, and those kids grow up into adults, then those same characteristics can go into adulthood. Now, it can look a lot different because, you have your life experiences, you've talked to different people, you've observed different things, and your whole mindset changes where you're not a child anymore. I had a falling out with my siblings, really has led to a point where I have not seen or spoken to them in about 8 or 9 years. And that is a decision that I made for myself, given the circumstances of what has transpired from that particular time to this time. So with my first tip, settle within yourself, that's really how I knew I no longer wanted my siblings to be in my life, because I was growing through this time where I was just really trying to figure out what I wanted for my life. What did I want that to look like? How did I want that to look? Who were the people I wanted in my life as far as relationships were concerned, as far as ships were concerned, as far as where I worked, where I lived. And I really began to get the courage to be able to put up boundaries and say, no, yes, I want this. No, I do not want this. And it really was during the time where I ended up quitting my job, which I've shared this story. I quit my job and moved back home with my parents. But when I moved back home with my parents, it kind of fell back into that place of I was that same old Charmaine, little Charmaine who moved back and not an adult who truly had her own money and own things going on. It's just she lived with the idea was that I just lived in the home with my parents, but also I had a sibling that did the same thing, that moved home, and we were all living there together. And that was just a very different dynamic that we all had to grow and learn. But during that growing and learning experience, a big fight broke out between myself and my sibling. And there were some things that were said that really got pretty nasty, pretty ugly, pretty just below the belt, cut the ankles off type of back and forth that was going on. Or after that had calmed down, when I really reflected on what happened, some of the things that were said, to myself, I said, none of that is me. That what was said in the manner of, and I'll give you an example. One thing that was said was, no one likes you. The reason no one likes you is because you have a mental illness. I mean, it was stuff like that below the belt. And so when I thought about it, because I had been doing so much groundwork of self-love, self-improvement, and really weeding out things in my life that I just did not want in my life, what I had noticed is that my sibling was looking at that, and instead of it being a positive thing, they were making it into a situation where it looked like no one liked me, no one loved me. So much so till they told me and confessed to me, I don't like you. I've never liked you. And so when I heard those particular words, I said, whether that's in an argument or not an argument, if that's how you feel as my sibling, I had to know and be okay with me and settle within myself, knowing for a fact that's not who I was, and I knew the plan that I had for myself. And so if I did not have my own self-esteem or that my knowing of my own self-worth, those type of words could have really cut me and brought me down to a place of just depression. But because I knew I was settled in myself and I was doing the groundwork to really build my self-esteem and set my life up for how I wanted to look, I could really separate those words from who I really was and then make a decision to move forward. And so that comes to tip number 2, really train your family to treat you for the version of you of how you see yourself. So if it was a point of those words being said to me, then I'm the type of person, I'm not going to argue back with you. I'm going to stay calm while you're arguing, because I know it's very visible to everyone looking at the argument that one person is very heated, one person is staying calm. So in that particular situation, I really flipped it on my sibling where I said, wow, aren't you supposed to be the older sibling? If you say that I have no friends, I at least should have one friend in this world, and that should be you because you're my sibling. And I think too, with the whole back and forth that had happened, my parents were there and they were kind of watching it, and they didn't really get involved. They just kind of, let us have our moment. But I had to let my sibling know at that particular time, you're not going to just say what you feel to me, because I'm going to reverse this on you as well and put a mirror up and let you see some reflection in what you're saying and what you're doing. So of course you can probably tell that did not, that kind of took a turn for the worse, but I'll leave that part out. So anyways, when you are making them treat you how you see yourself, if your nickname as a child was little man or little whatever, and that is something that you never liked, or you really just do not see yourself as little man anymore, don't answer to certain things like that. Speak up for yourself and let them know, I want to be referred to as whoever you want to be referred to as. So when I took that tip number 2 of make sure your family treats you the way that you see yourself, I made the decision not to speak to my siblings any longer. So in 2023, that's when I graduated with my Doctor of Education degree. I participated in the graduation. And mind you, by that time, it was probably maybe 6 years where I had gone without speaking to my siblings. And then I was on the phone with my mom, and my mom said, well, all of us are coming to your graduation. And she named my siblings, and she, of course, said my parents were coming. And I about lost it, because I was like, oh no, you all are not going to do this same characteristic where there was an argument, and then all of a sudden, if we just show up to eat ice cream and nobody says anything, then everyone is okay. They were not, I did not allow them to make my happy moment of celebrating me a moment of bringing in old family feelings that we really hadn't talked about in almost 6 years. I just didn't feel that it was fair to bring that to my graduation, especially when that full 6 years there was never a type of reach out to try to mend happening, or the family argument that was happening. So I put my foot down and I said no. I told my mother, if you and my father want to come to the graduation, that is perfectly fine. But you all are not going to use my moment as a moment to try to mend a family feud that happened 6 years ago. I had to take those particular moments and let them know, you cannot just come in and feel, just because you send a text message and say, well, I'm going to keep trying and make Charmaine speak to me. One of my siblings sent me a text that said, hey, I'm having a birthday party and it's here and I want you to come. And I had to respond, I hope you have a wonderful birthday, but I am not coming to your birthday party. I am not investing my money in gas and mileage to come and celebrate you. Basically lay out, unless you are communicating with me about the wellness of our parents, I no longer want to communicate with you at all. And I had to basically lay that out. But I don't think anyone believed me until I had to keep reminding them and telling them when they kept trying to reach out and force me to be a part of something that I did not want to be a part of. So you really have to figure out, what does that look like for you when you're trying to train your family to treat you how you see yourself, how your life is set up for you, the boundaries are set up for you. You really have to make sure and practice that and stay steadfast to that. Now again, I am not encouraging anyone to cut off their family how I did. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying I really want you to really think about what that looks like for your life, and then be sure that you're making every step to advocate for yourself. That's really what I want. I really want you to be able to advocate for yourself. So if it is something where you do want your family in your life, you have to be able to put into words, what are the terms of your family being in your life? What does that mean? What does that look like? What are you going to accept? What are you not going to accept? Because if you do not put those terms out there, they are going to step over those lines because they see you as little man or little John when you see yourself as Mr. John. And so you really have to make sure that those two worlds really mesh together very well, but it is only up to you and the responsibility of you to make sure those worlds mesh together. So that's tip number 2. And then now tip number 3, the family that grows from you is what's most important. So when I Googled what the definition of family is, the most basic definition that I came across was that the only reason you're family is because you all have a common descendant. And it doesn't mean that it gives you a license to have to accept mistreatment or accept abuse or accept anything that makes you feel uncomfortable because they're family. And so when I say that, really start to think, if that's something that you want to move forward with building your own family, then you really have to make sure that you are setting those values in place for your household. Your household is what's most important, because if you think about certain family drama, it can be something where it has stemmed from a long time ago, which a lot of people in the Black community call that generational curses. And if you are making a definite decision that certain generational curses are going to stop with your home, then you have to make sure that you put those values and practices in place with, one, selecting the partner that has those same values as you and want to move forward in a partnership to build that, and then two, really making sure that that type of communication is freely flowing in your home. Those are my 3 tips with moving on from family drama. So I really have a bonus tip as well. So my bonus tip is really to take seriously the opportunity when you're able to choose your own family. And that's including friends, when you have certain communities, when you're in certain clubs, and you meet people that have more respect for you, more desire to see you happy, a desire to see good things come to you. And when you meet those type of people, really make sure that you are feeding into that relationship, because that family member that you can choose versus a family member where you all have the same descendant. So I really hope that these 3 tips are something for you to just think about, get some groundwork going for your life, to really set out parameters for what's going to make you feel safe, what's going to make you feel seen, what's going to make you feel heard. And that's really the goal that this video is aiming to do. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.